because this is a podcast, we have to be good about describing things. Bo has just let his hair down, and it was like a brown waterfall, cascading elegantly down, glistening.
I got to leave it down for the show since you have.
It's a breathtaking.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Autopian Podcast, your favorite automotive car culture podcast where we just basically freak out about cars.
We're podcasting hard today. That's all I got to say.
We are. This is going to be intense.
I'm excited about today's podcast. It's a really special one. But you guys have other things I'm sure you want to talk about. But our guest today is unbelievable. And
He's
for those...
a legitimate hero of mine from a long time back.
And he should be, because, I mean, this guy is really incredible. I had the pleasure of working with him on our show, Car Kings, when we were doing it. Curtis Brubaker, not only Brubaker Box fame, if you don't know that car, you should, and please look it up. But also, he is just this engineering and marvel, an incredibly interesting guy. So I'm really excited about that.
And there's going to be some surprises, I think, when we talk to Curtis about things that are in the news right now. Like the Brubaker Box peaked probably in the 70s, but his hand can still be felt in important cars people are talking about literally every day, like every current day. So I'm very, very excited.
It's so true. He was so ahead of his time that we're just catching up to him now. That's the beauty of it. So I can't wait. So he's coming on here soon. What else?
An absolute legend. So we got... Bo is coming to us from the Aston Martin showroom there in Van Nuys. Torch is in the interesting basement. Mm-hmm. And I'm still here in Michigan. And but
I love your plan. Hey, you're getting some cars sold. You're getting on your way. You're getting ready, mentally, physically prepared. I'm proud of you, David.
You know what, Bo? I'm just glad that you're not upset with the fact that I'm planning on storing 3 vehicles on somewhere on your lot.
Oh, you didn't hear the price I'm charging yet, so
we can negotiate.
I'm kidding.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna help David drive out a couple of his vehicles. We're gonna take Otto, and we're gonna go on a little road trip from Detroit to LA. So, Bo, you'll get to meet Otto finally. I'm very excited.
Right on. The most appropriately named young man that I know personally.
Definitely.
Actually,
I feel like more appropriate.
OTTO, by the way, if you're listening at home, it's not Otto. Yeah,
that would be bonkers.
I'm sorry, David. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, more appropriate would have been something a little wackier than Otto. I feel like,
he is a human child, David. There's only so much I can get away with.
Yes, exactly. and
That's a good point.
Elon Musk did. You know what I mean? He's got to be somewhat normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
And OTTO, I just love how it's just, I could design something really cool around that. Like his autograph. It's like backwards and forwards to say whatever you call that.
Honestly, that was a huge part of why we picked it. Sally is a designer also. I grew up as a graphic designer, and visually the name is so good. It's like it's a palindrome, and it's visually a palindrome, and it lends itself so well. So that was a huge part of why.
I'm glad you know the big words, palindrome, because
palindrome.
I play with my name a lot of times and write it different ways and what it is, just as a goof. But like Otto, I mean, you can have it could look like a tic-tac-toe board. I mean, there's so much fun you can have with it.
I used to make it look like the front of a car when I draw it, like the O's. You make the T's like a little grill, and we would make like there's all kinds of fun ways.
No, Otto's got the coolest name.
It's a good name. So anybody,
it's a great name.
There's not many autos around. I'm not saying to overuse it. I'm saying, keep it on the short list. It's a good one. You have enough Jadens out there, or Cadens. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to briefly talk about our guest, who we're gonna be bringing on here in a few minutes. Okay, Curtis Brubaker. I know, of course, from the Brubaker Box. And I've heard Curtis Brubaker's name a gazillion times, and that's probably because I hang out with you a lot, Torch.
Yeah.
The Brubaker Box. This was a Volkswagen Beetle-based van kind of thing?
Yeah, so this was in the height of the kit car era, because the Beetle, and we'll get into this with Curtis, I'm sure. But
we need him for the whole story, obviously.
Yeah, we'll get him for the whole story. But just so people know what it is It's a Beetle based kit car. There were tons of fiberglass bodies you could put on a VW Beetle chassis, and they were street legal and ready to go. There was a whole industry devoted to it. And he made a fascinating van, a one box design that was designed maybe in lieu of all the microbuses and things. And it's still a fresh design today. And it's sleek and low, but also roomy. He'll go into it, but they didn't make a whole lot of them. And the ones that are still around are very, very valuable and important. And on Bo's show, they restored one, which was
cool.
Which is
one of my favorites. Oh yeah.
I have to say, I am still a little confused by how a Beetle-based sort of kit van
get the man on here, and
so,
he can explain it
exactly.
To us. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly. All right, let's bring in Curtis Brubaker.
Oh yes. All right. We've had some great guests lately, I got to say. You know, this podcast is looking up. I'm shocked at who we're getting here. You know, we're actually getting like great guests. This is amazing.
Legitimate heroes, big deal people.
Oh, Curtis!
Hello, Curtis.
Oh, it's so great to see you, sir.
How you doing, guys?
How you doing?
Great. How about you?
Pleasure to meet
you. Look great.
I am fine. I want to see Bo's hair. I listened to Bruce Meyer's podcast, and he said he's going to get his hair done like yours, or you should get yours done like his.
There it is.
I haven't cut it since the last time we were together, Curtis. It's ludicrous.
So because this is a podcast, we have to be good about describing things. Bo has just let his hair down, and it was like a brown waterfall, cascading elegantly down, glistening.
I'm going to leave it down for the show since you have.
It's breathtaking.
Love it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to let my hair down before it falls out.
Your hair looks great. You look fantastic, sir.
Yeah, you do. And we really appreciate you coming on, by the way. This is a huge treat. You know, I've been a fan of your work forever. So
you're my one-man marketing guy.
I am. That's right.
Have you played your Torchinsky file on the box for Bo?
I know about. I think Bo's seen it. It was one of the ones where it was just downstairs in the basement since I didn't have access to a box.
They're all in the basement.
It was after Kurt sent me the poster and the other marketing materials, and it was such a treat. I'm sure Bo may not have seen it, but we'll put a link to it in the
podcast. There's one part in there. I laughed my ass off on the part. You get so excited. He gets so excited about it. He is a one-man sales marketing force. And there's a part in there where he describes a lady with her kids taking him to school. And can you imagine one of these shows up and maybe it's gold and it's just so exciting. I laugh my ass off every time I see that.
Think about that scene. You're a kid in like 1976, wherever, and your mom is picking you up from school in a Brubaker box. You are the coolest kid at school, no matter what. I mean,
officially, yes,
unbeatable. Yeah, I think it's.
So, there's so much to talk about, Curtis, but, I was wondering where to start. But since we're on it, talking about the Brubaker Box, because it really is, it's a vehicle that maybe not as many people know about as they should, but it was incredibly influential and had a huge impact in the day, to the point where, I remember right before COVID hit, Art Center was even doing, their project on what would the Brubaker Box be if it had continued till today. So why don't we start with talking about the box and kind of, as we were trying to describe to David before you came on about it, we said, no, let's get Curtis here so we could talk about it. And, he's kind of questioning how it's Beetle based and how did it all start? What created the Brubaker Box?
It started with my sitting in our office, and my brother's utility van, VW van, started rolling down Pico Boulevard all by itself. It turned out it wasn't by itself. Some guy was jacking it.
So where was this? This was in the LA area?
Yeah. Pico Boulevard. You know where Rancho Park is?
Yep.
Right across the street from there, next to the nice little office next to the Temple Isaiah.
Oh yeah, I know that area. Yeah, there's David in LA. There's two big foci of us Jews in town. You got the Fairfax district, and then Pico has a bunch of them. So That's the one Curtis is talking about there.
I've been surrounded since high school, and I
Yeah.
love them. Love you guys. Anyway, this thing, this kid was stealing it, and instead of continuing on down Pico and so forth, or going up Beverly Glen, we ran out there in the street and couldn't see the guy when they were bringing our cars around to take chase. We found the guy had just turned the corner and gone into the temple's parking lot, and he was in the process of, I don't know, what he was doing, hot wiring it or something, and we took care of the guy, and afterwards we've been wondering why in the hell he would steal something like that. And that got me thinking, and we snooted around and finally went down to Newport Beach and took that picture that's in that the box collection that I just sent Tom.
This is the picture of all of the microbuses by the beach, right? There's like a whole
there was like seven or eight of them in one picture.
Yes,
there it is.
Picture.
And I thought, geez, that's what I told you. I told Bo, I think in our episode, I said there's a market there. That's and all the kids are using them for the same purpose too.
Right.
So,
and cool Mustangs, by the way, Mustangs and vans in this picture.
You're right. Yeah. And it looks like is that a Dodge A100 or no, it's the Chevy one over there also, but they were all very similar. These cab over. Yeah, that's a lot.
Harry who worked for me on the box, he had one of those, a fastback, a blueprinted Mustang from Ford. He worked from the Ford studio, and he brought that out to California. So proud of that, and he totaled it. I'm afraid. Lost it on an off ramp and wrapped it around a pole, because that would be worth a lot. It was like a bullet car, and we all mourned that.
So someone stole a VW bus, and that inspired you to think, you know what? Let's
well, not right at the moment, but inspired us to go and get the bus. And why is this kid wasting his time stealing a bus? It was one of the, they have the version, I'm not sure what they call it, but it's the one where it's got like two long toolboxes on either side of a sort of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. It was like the pickup style.
Chopped off.
Those are great.
Yeah. And there's a name for it, I'm sure. But anyway, he was taking that. And we, he wasn't, we sent him away, but, he was a young kid.
Yeah.
But later we started wondering, why would he waste his time stealing that?
I had my bug stolen in like 2000, what was it? Like 2013 or something like that. So they're still stealing old air-cooled VWs. It hasn't stopped, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think Mayor or Governor, what's his face, is going to put a stop to it eventually.
I think that's priority one, actually. Yeah, air-cooled VW
stealing internal combustion engine things anymore.
So you saw the market need for a van, and you thought VW bug, right? Is that how did that was a natural?
Yeah, it was. The picture kind of closed the loop for us.
Yeah.
Why are all these things down here? And other streets were just like that one. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
That one, I think we probably went around the block because that had, a number of them all with one camera point of view. So that was a little visual engineering there, I suppose. But no, there was crawling with these things. They're all kids, all the same age range, most of them surfers, and the dating area, you know what it was like. You've been there, I've been there, and I totally identified with that. So by the time we got back to the office, I said, we got to do something like this. We got to figure out what. And of course, the dune buggies were hot and heavy at the time,
right?
And
this would be what year?
Well, yeah, and that I don't like that version anymore. That was the first one we did for ourselves. And we actually thought maybe we get Midas as a sponsor somehow. So that was just a dune buggy tub with sides. And
which, by the way, for those, if you're listening and can't see it, it looks like an ultra modern version, even though it was done 50 years ago, of what a Brubaker box would be, with almost like the bottom half of the front It
And Myers
disappears
Manx.
with two headlights in it. So
Yeah.
cool looking, by the way. Yeah, it almost
Yeah,
looks like a
we're
buggy if
trying
you
to
put
get
a
something
giant
really
body on it.
inexpensive, so that would be attached to a partially finished underside tub, kind of
Huh.
like all the dune buggies have.
Yeah.
The big
Yeah.
advantage is we weren't gonna shorten the thing. That's a pain in the butt to have
Right.
it shorten, 13 inches or whatever they take out.
For Myers, for people who don't know, on a Myers Manx, it's still, you bolt a fiberglass body to a beetle pan, but you have to take a chunk of like over a foot out of the middle of the pan. And you're right, that's the hardest part of the job.
Yeah, it's got to be welded back together. It's just a pain in the butt. If you don't need to do it, don't
Yeah.
do it. So that
Right.
was a no-brainer. But we started modeling this little 5th scale clay. All of this stuff burned in our studio fire,
Oh,
unfortunately.
no.
Oh no.
But it was when we started modeling the side, and we realized the need for modesty panels in front and back, because why go 80-90% with a nice design and then leave off some parts that would be easy to make and cover serviceable parts and so forth.
So here I notice it's called the Baja Bus. I can't talk right now. Baja Box. And it looks like the tires are a little bit fatter, and it looks like it's ready to go off-road. Was it originally kind of more off-road based or thought of?
Well, yeah, I always wanted it to go as off, inherently, the dune buggies are going off-road. I figure we could keep up in part. The tires were plaster things we were using off some other 5th scale cars, probably done for a client. And I named it the Baja Box. And, by the time we got into hard surfaces, everybody was calling it the Brubaker Box.
The approach and departure angles on this thing are absurd. I mean, it looks like it could climb a freaking cliff.
They were, and that goes without saying. We need some of that, and there's no bumpers shown on this yet. And we did, remember, Jason, I mentioned that front bumper with the tire.
Yeah. Yes.
You published a thing on the tire. We built it like that, and we tested it at Rockwell. One of the engineers was down there. The guy that did the door, an old guy, took it down, and we tested it with a tire, and it passed the FMVSS test.
Really?
There's a picture of it in that box collection.
So this was, for reference, this is use of the spare tire up front horizontally to act as like a front bumper, basically.
A tire as a bumper?
Brilliant.
Clever.
Yeah.
That's good.
We figured that would be possibly a problem with FMVSS regs, but
Federal regulations,
but it's probably not that bad, It's you got to inflate your bumper.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and it's a dual purpose.
Yeah. It can take scuffs.
Yeah, but the Torch published an article on that before, so I took that and put it in the presentation there alongside our version.
I always loved the idea of that, because even in a Beetle, the tire is designed, like the spare tire up front is designed in an impact. It's crucial. Like it's there's not a lot to help you in the impact in a Beetle, but the tire is designed to take some of that force. So using it as just straight up a bumper, I just always thought was elegant.
Yeah. Our engineer, Bob Barker, or Bill Barker, he's got a son named Bob. He's been down at Rockwell doing airplanes and landing gear doors and all this stuff all his life. And he engineered the door, came up with this tie rod articulated door. We want everything simple that you could go get parts everywhere. And he did that, but he said we can make a bumper out of that thing. And he took it down to Rockwell, I think, on a weekend, and nobody was there, and he used all the test equipment, and it passed the test. So
amazing.
There it is.
Oh yeah, there. Yeah, look at that. So yeah, like the a Renault Dauphine just had it in like a separate compartment for it, and there you can see how the box actually went a step further, made it an actual.
I hope the Renault doesn't have that sticking out like that all the time.
No. Yeah, but it's
you can see the bumper support tray right there, and I guess to do the presentable prototype, we changed the front end something. You're changing everything all the time, and. But that was the plan. We just stick right in there. Then we didn't have to have it in the passenger compartment. We're trying to keep that as roomy as possible.
Yeah.
So
That's
was
my,
the intention that you would build complete units and then sell them as a complete, or actually use it as a conversion kind of kit?
the plan was, Bo, to sell bonded bodies and treat it as kind of a shipping case.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in wood if it's going somewhere, and put polyethylene around it so it could be inexpensive. But all the parts that you finish out and instructions and whatnot would be put inside, and the door probably hung, and then you that's the way you would receive it. You provide the beetle and everything else.
And it's a build your own, which by the way, in today's era, it sounds like ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to get a box and then build a car.
Actually, it's starting to sound pretty good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's coming back again, I think. But that was, kit cars were really huge back in.
Yeah.
I remember the 70s. It probably happened before that. So this is, prime era kit car. But this goes beyond just what those kit cars were. This is something truly unique versus like some sports car that really wasn't a sports car. This is like something really different.
So that's my question. How many Beetle-based kit cars have there been throughout history? A ton of them. But this one sticks out. And obviously, there are obvious reasons why. I mean, you look at it and it's incredible. But I'd like to hear from you, Curtis. Like, why has the box stuck out among all the hundreds of probably
Bradley
Beetle-based
GTs and the fake MVs and all that stuff? Yeah.
If anybody's ever interested, I've got a superb collection of, I think we even bound some of them out. I collected all of the possible one box designs, still add to it all the time, just a matter of routine to see what people do or could do. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, so I was just curious
with the staying power of the Brubaker box.
Yeah,
I mean,
like people remember it. Like David's right. There were so many catalogs and things full of VW based kit cars, but the Brubaker box doesn't feel like all the rest of them.
Probably because it was a box shape. I mean, and there were some. There was a young guy who made something called the box. It had exposed wheels. It looked like a low rectangular box. I forget his name, but that was the only thing that we could find existing at the time.
Right.
I think I can get you a picture of it. It's not in the presentation there. But the other side of that question is, why has it lasted so long?
Yeah.
In fact, why is it growing in interest from not just the public, but the motor companies?
Yeah.
All of them called me and said, you want to do another box? And I tell some of them it's done. But the wheels, partly because of the VW plan, the wheelbase isn't changed. We made it a little wider, but they're in the corners. They're in the corners of the vehicle. If you look at all, get on Pinterest and all these, the kids are doing amazing, beautiful stuff nowadays because they got computers. But they're not just putting the wheels in the corners. They're actually retracting or pulling the body back between the wheels now, front and back. And it's more of a styling gimmick. And of course, they're doing oversized, huge wheels and no jounts. If I ever teach a class out there, I'm gonna trap some of these kids, and we're gonna build some up literally to their sketches.
And a designer was explaining to me that today is modernism in design. It's a difference between like a locomotive design with the engine and everything out front versus a speed train where it's a glass. You're right up front and everything's below you and behind you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's beautiful about the Brubaker box is it actually had modernism and modern design 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it modern again today.
I think I put the picture in that presentation. There's a picture of me driving it down Wilshire Boulevard on our way back from the auto show, and I'm going past my dad's building. My dad was VP of marketing for Carnation Company.
Oh,
so going past the Carnation building, and I snapped somebody snapped a picture of me. I told them I wanted to get one, and we're surrounded by really new automobiles, American automobiles, in parking lots and on the street, and the vehicle is surrounded by them. And it looks like you're going through a post-apocalypse, disaster with all these old, basically junk cars. And ours looks like a new car going down the street. You'll find it in there somewhere. But that one amazes me. And we took it down to the VW dealer in Santa Monica, put it on his lot and in the showroom, and it just makes all the brand new cars in the lot look old and large and wide and heavy.
We're looking at it now. It still looks futuristic. There it is in the Volkswagen showroom. But today, if you came out with that design, people would be going, "Wow, it's so modern." You literally wouldn't even have to change anything.
You update the lights and a couple of the other details. I feel like it would definitely pass as brand new.
Yeah, you know Clay Dean, right? He's the guy who did a really nice job on the baby Hummer for GM.
Okay.
He's with Under Armour now. Clay a lot of designers think I should do it, and he's one that doesn't want to tweak it or change it much at all. He says, "Don't mess with it.
Right.
Just keep capture the character and the general look, but don't change it." And then there are other guys like my friend Sam down at Icona, and he says try after the Cybertruck comes out, he says try something angular and scarfed off, different, dramatically different.
And I want to get back to Cybertruck in a minute, because we got something really cool to talk to Curtis about the Cybertruck. So this is going to be awesome. But before we go there,
take the lead. I'm here to answer questions.
Oh well, this is so fun and exciting.
I'm relaxed as long as I got my coffee and.
Well, I have to say again, Curtis, I was lucky enough, and Jason helped so much with the show Car Kings, first called Driven, and we did, Jeff Dunham. Speaking of people who love cars and really wonderfully weird cars, and having the pleasure to restore that car with you is one of the greatest honors I've had, sir. So thank you so much. But we learned so much during that. I was just going to mention, I'm kind of hoping for like this new era of kit cars, because now that we have EVs and an EV skateboard, I just think, isn't there an opportunity now to look at saying, hey, now we can put those boxes back on this EV skateboard like we used to do with the old Volkswagen chassis? And is that something that you might be interested in, or you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because I'd buy that.
I would too. And that's kind of my rule. Design something that you'd be happy to drive, and that makes it work out right for me. But that's a size that's and package that's smart. We need another door. We need some access in the back. All that gets cleaned up with if it's electric.
Well, going to Myers-Manx example, which to me that's another one of the Volkswagen kit cars that is still relevant today. And of course, we know that they just built an EV that is so true to the original. But like you said, Jason, those little touches that are updated that really make it into something exciting.
The original torsion bar axle is still on there, even on the new things, which is amazing. It shows you just how close they were able to keep to the original dimensions and everything.
They're buying a platform from some source. Freeman Thomas has a bunch of sources. They talked to me about doing one.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. And
let's do it. We need a new Brubaker box, please.
There's one key about the old Beetle pans, though, and I don't know how this will translate to the modern era, but like I think one of the reasons it was so doable by people in their backyard is you could take the VIN right from your VW pan and register it just as like a 62 Beetle, even no matter what it looked like. And I don't know if we can still get away with that today, like that, because Beetles were so plentiful and dirt cheap, and it was an opportunity to take an old car, you drag it out of a junkyard, you take the body off, you pop a new thing on it, and there's no problem registering it. Like I think that's one of the secret pieces about it.
Yeah, there's no problem we can't solve. We just want a Brubaker box again.
That's right.
We can do
Torch.
it.
We want solutions, not problems, Torch.
All right. Well,
very easy to do, and I'd love to do something like that.
Well,
we can make that any degree of change that you want. It's been almost 50 years
Yeah.
since that was done. And I don't think anybody else has come out with anything, as sexy and fun.
No.
And
No.
I'm surprised at that.
So, are you working with anyone actively on it today that you could talk about, or?
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
And I've been wanting to talk with you, Bo, and Jason about it, since Jason is my marketing department.
I am happy to do it.
Hey, marketing and sales right here. We got
But yeah, we have to remember that the original box was supposed to be a kit. People
Right.
said, well, it wasn't going to be a complete car. And that's a phenomenon that we hadn't expected. And I've got good records. It didn't all, burn up in the fire, but we have letters that we reproduced and bound in a book. The reaction to it, there are far more people with the money to buy a finished car than there are with the skills to build one.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That was the first surprise. And so it could still be done as a key. That's what swayed me and my team to try and do a finished vehicle and to get chassis from VW.
How did
And
they
we
react? VW, were they willing to supply you guys with chassis? Like, how did that work?
The factions of them were, but I'll never forget in New Jersey a lunch with their head attorney, and he explained how everybody was concerned about liability problems. If we have an accident, they're going to sue Volkswagen. They've got the deep pockets, and we knew that.
Yeah.
So they'd really have to be on board on the engineering, or you'd have to fit into a program like we were just talking about with an existing platform designed to do this. And the legal, the liability climate is sorted out and anticipated by the big manufacturer. It could all be done. It has to be done right. We're out of
luckily the lawyers
business.
have really calmed down over the last 50 years. You don't see nearly the lawsuit. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. But
Yeah, they're easy.
well, not saying there wouldn't be challenges. Well, speaking of which, if you wouldn't mind switching gears for a second, because
Do you mind if we stay on this gear real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I have
Yes.
I'm not as in tune as you are, Bo and Jason, about the Brubaker Box, the design and how the design came about, and the engineering. Like, who did the design and engineering? What was the how? Yeah. I guess, like, who did that and what was their background?
And also have Curtis describe the interior layout, because it's also
Oh yes.
which is
and also you mentioned Rockwell a few times. Can you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. This is Rockwell International Aerospace that merged. I can't remember now, but Rockwell was an independent company, and they did aircraft, as you probably know. And the guy that is a retired engineer, Bill Barker, who's now deceased, who did a lot of engineering work. So he came in. A lot of friends, who we'd known over the years that have helped out on different cars that we do for racers or the studios. There are different talents. So we pulled them in as we needed and kind of formed the substance around this design. I just wanted it simple.
So what kind of other cars were you building at the time?
Pardon?
What kind of other cars were you designing at the
I
time?
don't think we looked at anything else. I think we just dove right into to VW because the mindset, there was the public was, you saw the picture there. We were creating a new product in an area that VW was quite accustomed to, and very few people, if any, asked questions about would there be any problems in basically following the dune buggy scenario, which is pretty well established, and with customers and with enthusiasts. So it was a natural to just try and do a one box on the unmodified platform.
So who was the initial team that started with this? Who was the initial crew that was getting started?
It was myself, Harry Wykes, who was an amazing designer and fabricator. We've been together. He's with us every Christmas. That's great. We're very close. And he came out from Ford Motor Company, and as a designer, and he was the key guy. And then prior to that, I had employed a guy by the name of forget his first name. His last name was Gerstenberger.
Mm-hmm.
And Todd, his son, his brother, finished up Art Center and joined us for that team. So Harry, Todd, and myself were the key guys. And then my brother was there. He contributed to the stolen van. And then we hired other guys, other team guys from engineering folks that we needed, and students. I love to get students involved. And we started mocking the thing up.
What was the name of the company at the time?
My company was the Brubaker Group, and that was a design consultancy all through that period.
Gotcha.
And
did you get a Bear VW chassis to start laying interior out and figuring out how you were going to do it? Or?
Several of them. Yeah. This is kind of a backstory that you get a kick out of. You know Kentucky Fried Theater, and the guys that did Airplane and funny movies.
Yep. Yeah, the Zuckerberg and what's his name? Yeah.
This is a good story for you. My office was a kind of nice garden office, and across the vacant lot was this beat up old 3-story building that they used to shoot porn in. And the
this is the Valley.
Kentucky Fried Theater guys came in and they set up their theater in this. Okay. We became friends. In fact, the lead guy, the pilot in the Airplane movie was named Brubaker in the script for a while. But they did Airplane and I think an airplane sequel. And,
Airplane 2, sure, very familiar. Yeah,
but they at nights they would have their shows going, and we built the box in right behind it. I got some pictures that are funny, and we would shoot. All my guys went up and one night and we shot the opening scene of one of their movies. A black gal with a machine gun is mowing down a group of guys, all our designers in the parking lot, and opened one of their first films.
Wow. Yeah, because they did Police Squad too. They did the Police Squad show.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. I knew
Turchinsky would know all these.
Oh yeah, no, they're fantastic. They were crucial.
We had several beat up old chassis, and it took a while before we bought a brand new car. We finally did. But yeah, we had 3 or 4 of them as platforms. We jig up the platform, zero them out, and we had the interior shell, the interior pan going on one part of the shop and the exterior going on another.
Wow.
And I think all that progressive stuff you can see in the pictures there.
And kind of who penned the overall shape and design? Was it a group effort or did someone have a aha moment?
I'm probably responsible for
Good.
most of that, but
That's what I want to hear.
I know I was responsible for all the overlapping corners, and I love the sections and stuff because my background is aviation structural mechanic in the Navy.
Oh, wow.
And that's another story leading up to the box. But yeah, I was concerned about getting corners and box structures, overlapping panels, all reproduced from simple one-piece molds.
Wow.
When you bond and rivet it together, it was a really rigid, strong box. And that probably attributes some of it's lasting, that one that the guys found in a swamp in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to restore that.
It's amazing.
That was
David about the
was that the first one? And this interior, by the way, this looks like pre-restored. But it's almost like a wraparound couch in the back.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a seat. Is that the gas tank that it's over?
The fuel tank, we had to bury that as much as possible. That's under that wraparound ottoman thing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's clever.
And it actually is sealed by a couple of layers, but vented to the outside. And it was buried back in under the pan. So it was always
for
outside
people. people just listening, I'm just going to describe the interior layout of a Brubaker box here. So you picture like a box, you've got 2 seats up front, and in the back it's like an L-shaped lounge kind of thing. So you have like a wraparound sofa at the back, and then to one side is the padded ottoman that's hiding the fuel tank underneath it. But the end result is like it's very much a little room effect. Which is part of what makes this thing so damn cool. Like you could easily see laying down in there and sleeping. Yeah, there's a picture here now.
That's the original. I don't think, Bo, I don't think that vinyl interior is the same. I think it's been redone once.
Yeah.
Because this is the original, and you can compare the two. I put the 2 pictures together so you can. Yeah. I don't think that's the same cushion, and they've added a cushion on behind the ottoman.
But it was really helpful that they found this #1 car, because when we were doing the show, Dave and Jeff actually went out there to get some molds actually off of it, and some things that we weren't sure about how original they were. So
they weren't sure what they had until I went out. I told them, because there's those cool. The first 3 cars, the first 3 bodies had no inlet air for the engine cooling. It had a rectangular, long, slim rectangular reflector side marker light, which I thought looked cool. It wasn't operating, but that's what we were heading for. And we had the little slots in the C post or D post, and cut little slots to pull air out of the cabin with some Mazda, little black Mazda grills that would snap in there. So I try and find parts from the cars. And
you had an AMC windshield, right? AMC windshield.
Yeah, AMC windshield.
Datsun taillights, I think, from the pickup truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
The El Camino rear window.
And, the little narrow rear window, right? Because that's the El Camino little narrow rear window.
We made our own glass. Libby Owens Ford made the glass, and I think that they have the original pieces of glass in that thing.
Wow.
I'd have to check again. I think they were. I'd be surprised if they were still in one piece. But
where did it feed air to the engine? You said, I don't beat, they're air cooled. They want a lot of air. Were you feeding it from up and underneath? Because there's not a lot of obvious vents on a box. Like, how are you doing that?
It was feeding. I think probably we were taking more air in than VW was. If you look at where we put tufts on and went out in the big air wind tunnel on the freeway, and it's very clean airflow around the corner. So we put it just forward of the area where there's nothing there, but there's a shot. Yeah, you can see the Mazda. Those
are the air extraction vents from the cabin, right? Yeah.
And I sent these to him afterwards. So.
Oh, I guess the engine was exposed enough also. So
it was a lot of air underneath, probably more even than it hung out there more even than the original Beetle.
Yeah.
And then we pulled air around the sides and pulled it in through that clean area. I think it's earlier. You're way back at the box. If you go up to the near the beginning where we first get it roadable, you'll see the tough tests.
Yep.
And where it
and there was that. I forgot about how cool the front end is. I want to talk about that too, because there was sort of a front trunk area. You had like a floating dashboard.
There it is, right there. Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Wow.
Oh yeah,
it's smooth, and we had clear air. We didn't do instrumented tests and stuff, but we had smart people look at it and say, this has got to be better flow that's on the Beetle itself.
But for those who can't see, this is such a great picture, because before computers did aerodynamics and things like that, this looks like basically a piece of string that like stuck on with a piece of gum, like all over the side of the car.
This is the way we did
like hundreds of them.
Bo, this was the way that the aircraft people have been doing tests for years. I probably picked that up from Learjet, and we just tape, a little bit of masking tape and yellow yarn, and there you go.
So what were you looking for specifically?
Yeah. By the way, this is fantastic. And I haven't seen this on cars before, actually. Maybe I missed it, but that must be from aircraft design is where you got that, because and others haven't emulated this, but it's so, It's amazing, and it's very smart.
It's crude, but it's visually very interesting. Yeah.
If you get a camera, you can see how the flow is attached, and you can see where it comes loose. So we had to put our ahead of that rear modesty panel cut is where we put the inlet, so it pulled clean air in. And you could actually accelerate that if you pull that off the boundary layer. If you had fans inside. And VW does on their engine. So if you did a little more internal ducting, you could actually enhance the air, pull it in, and keep the flow entrained on the body panel on the corner. But it was just smooth down the side, and
that's amazing.
It's so cool, and still, I mean, nothing up to it before or since looks like this. I mean, it is completely unique. I was even trying to just figure out how to describe it to listeners if two things mated, but I can't think of two things that would mate to come up with this thing. You know,
I mean, you could think of it as like you could take like a Vanagon, but then you'd have to like squish it down by like 50% and widen it so it's like lower and wider and sleeker, and then just
it's like a van with a sports car if they made it, to that point, a Vanagon. But it's so much cool and modern looking that doesn't describe it at all, you know.
And then also the proportions are not what you think. Like when you first look at it, you think it's bigger than it really is, and then when you've got people in the picture, you realize, wow, that is sleek. It's a sports van.
No, you're absolutely right. And wait till you see what this looks like next to a full-size pickup truck or the Cybertruck. I did that.
Speaking of, we should talk about this.
I had no idea that it was. I mean, I knew what size it was and everything, but it's. I've got another picture, and it may be in there. With Andreas's gold one pulling next to a Dodge Ram truck, and the box is about the size of the Ram's hood. I mean, it's the whole hood, everything forward of the Ram windshield is about the size of the box.
But the difference is every bit of space in the footprint of that box is usable.
That was my main goal.
What's that?
That was one of my main goals. I came from the Lear jet interior. Bill Lear is, fun guy, really smart, off the wall, real maverick. But he was pushing me all the time on space. Use the space, get the materials light. Every piece of material needs to be, but space. He was big on that. And
that's another reason why Torch loves you.
Yeah.
Packaging's a big deal.
Packaging.
I'm a big fetishist for that kind of stuff. And the box just does it. It's like the entire volume of that thing is you or your stuff. And
absolutely. And you know what? I think that becomes even more important with electric cars. Like if we look at like some of the coolest EVs, it's the ones that use the space the best. It's one of the ways that EVs are distinguishing themselves is cool packaging. Because there's just so much more you can do. And you no longer have the sound, you no longer have shifts, the unique torque curve is gone. So you have to find different ways to sort of stand out. And it seems like packaging seems to be one of the areas where they're getting a little bit more creative now than maybe they had before.
Yes. And one of the things that directly relates to the packaging is the use of that volume and the one box concept. Right now, Jason will love this because we're okay. Take a look at that. That's a good comparison.
Yeah,
you've got something damn near the size of the power plant at Ford is taking up, major chunks as big as the.
Look at that big hood.
The box itself.
Yeah.
It's at least a third of the car. Yeah.
Yes, and so, Jason, we're gonna. I think there's going to be or have to be a big move towards one box. And you can see that in the designers doing that because it makes no sense to optimize the frunk out there, and be putting skis and sleeping bags and crap. People don't, it's too valuable to let that be a trunk or a hood hanging out there. You don't need any of that stuff out there.
No.
And when you get into your Rolls Royces and your long hooded stuff for an accent, it's really wasteful. I've seen designers put, sleeping quarters in the front under the hood. And what should we do with this space? So one box, uses it. And if you can get the driver and occupants, the people in front, in, around, and between the wheel wells, and you can make the wheel wells smaller and more compact, you can move all those folks up front and really have comfortable luxury seating.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And
David,
so you're using the front part of your one box to advantage.
By the way, the other cool thing about that picture is if you look at the height of a Mustang and the height of a Brubaker Box, they're like almost exactly the same as what it looks like.
I describe this to the guys as the passenger carrying compartment of a luxury sedan, without all the hood and deck. It's between the glazing on either side and the roof, it's like a Cadillac, or it's a nice 4-door sedan size.
David, can you go to the picture where we see the front end in the interior? It was one before or after this one. Try the other way. I want to see the inside of the front. I think it's okay, look here.
Oh, I love this part.
Amazing. Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, so the dash is, just describe it to people. You've got your driver's seat and steering wheel, and then there's like a horizontal bar that's your dashboard, but then in front of it and below it is open space.
I'll tell you what, that's known as a knee bar, and we did a lot of testing at GM on knee bars and then on unbelted occupants, because at the time seat belts weren't mandated. I mean, when I was back there at GM, and the seat belts were just coming in, they're trying to figure out how to mandate them, and Ford was timidly coming out with padded visors and soft materials on the instrument panel. But the knee bar was something that handled the dummies very well in crash tests, all backed up with camera work. An unbelted passenger would move forward, and the knee restraint, that their knees would hit that thing. Yeah. And for, average family, kids had a problem, things, but they were trying to come up with ways to stop or minimize the secondary impact of people in the car when you hit an object. And the knee bar was something that worked very well in all the tests. In fact, you look at the new Cadillac prototype, they have a knee bar in it. Oh. I don't think it's for the same purpose as this, because everybody wears belts nowadays and it's mandated. But take a look at that. I can't think of the name. It starts with a C, but the new Cadillac prototype.
Oh, the Celestique or whatever it is.
Yeah. What was it?
Celestique.
Yeah. That's it. You see a knee bar in there.
Yeah.
That's
almost identical to what you see here.
And by the way, when you get into this car, that's like one of the first things I noticed that I hadn't noticed from pictures is that bar. I mean, it really opens up the space. Yeah. It is completely unique to anything that I've been in before or since. It's
you can put
very
luggage
cool
up front in the nose, just like right over that bar easily, and get to it easily. It's great.
I was wondering about this. Curtis, you were just talking about how going to a one box design makes sense. But the first thing that came to my mind, of course, was FMVSS crash tests. And, Jason recently reviewed the Volkswagen Bus, the new one, the EV. Mm-hmm. And basically, they actually kind of did the same thing that you did here to get through crash tests, except their dashboard, it's just a big, gigantic dashboard.
Right. You don't have access to that volume of space that the box has here. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
And everybody's calling them frunks because they're in the front and they're trunks. But accessing it from the inside is very smart. And, and being able to load it from the outside like a drawer and then access it while you're on a road trip is really smart.
Yeah, for beer.
That's what I'm going to do on the B2.
I love that idea. Yeah, being able to load your luggage in through the front and still get to it from the passenger seat. There's use for that. Everybody would use it.
Sure, and the stuff wants to come to you like a lazy Susan, and for two people. So, I probably have some sketches around, or they burned in the fire, but we didn't get a chance to build it, but there were drop-in ice chests and coolers and things that would fill that area forward of the knee bar and give you all that stuff. So if you're underway, you could open a lid and you got ice and drinks and stuff like that.
That is awesome.
Hopefully we can get that designed for the new Brubaker.
That's right. See this ID Buzz, Jason. All this space in the front is just kind of nothing, right?
You can't use it. There's
you sit back here.
Stuff. Yeah, but you're well behind the front wheels. But yeah, from the second B pillar or A pillar there forward, you don't have access to anything like windshield washer fluid you can get to, and that's it.
I feel like the Brubaker goes up to the other white line. Yeah.
The other part of the game is we need crush space in there.
Yeah,
we need to decelerate the human body in an accident. When you're doing a one box and you've got a shorter vehicle, you got much less crush space than you do with the big hooded engine. Of course, you always have to subtract the engine itself. Right, that doesn't crush very well.
No. But EVs don't have that problem, at least.
Yeah. Pardon?
EVs won't have that problem. There's no big engine.
That's true. The hardware can go in convenient places down in the corners, maybe in and around the wheels themselves.
Speaking of EVs, we should jump back to something. I know David. We all were.
We're all trying to segue because we're so excited about everything else too. We all want to talk more about the box.
I'm thrilled that you guys are excited about this.
Yeah,
of course.
This is
what we're all about at the Autopian. And we want to really talk further, maybe offline, about the new box and what's coming there.
All right. Well, you just saw part 1 of our interview with Curtis Brubaker.
What's next? Is it part 2, perhaps?
That comes after 1. So you would think so. You would think that next week, part 2 would be the next one. Yes.
Okay, so part 2 will be next week. So please tune again to the Autopian Podcast.